Khandana Bhagavandhana Jagavandhana Vandita Niranjana Jana Nararupa Dhara Nirgunam Mochana Agam Dushanam Jagabhushanam Chidhana Jnanan Janam Vimala Nayana Jnanan Janam Vimala Nayana Vikhane Moha Bhashara Bhavam Sagara Chira Madam Prema Vathar Bhaktar Janam Yugala Charana Bhaktar Janam Yugala Charana Taranam Bhava Jimrita Yuga Ishara Jaga Dishara Yoga Shahai Niro भानु समाहित मन निराखी तव कृपा भजन दुख गंजन करुणाघन कर्म कठोर प्राणार्पण जगत तारण प्राणार्पण जगत तारण कृतन बलि दो वाञ्छन काम काञ्चन अति निन्दित इन्द्रियं राग त्यागीश शरम हे नार वार त्यागीश शरम हे नार वार देह पद अनुम राग निर्भय गात संशय दृढ़ निश्चय मानस वान निष्कारण भगत शरण निष्कारण भगत शरण जय जाति कुल मान संपद तव श्रीपद भव गोष्पद वारि यथा प्रेमार्पण समं दर्शन प्रेमार्पण समं दर्शन जग जन दुख संपद तव श्रीपद भव गोष्पद वारि यथा प्रेमार्पण समदर्शन प्रेमार्पण समदर्शन जग जन दुख जाय नमो नमो प्रभु वाक्यमनातीत नमो नमो प्रभु वाक्यमनातीत मन वचनैका हार प्रभु मन वचनैका हार ज्योतिर ज्योति उजल हृदय कंदर ज्योतिर ज्योति उजल हृदय कंदर तुमी तम भंजन हार प्रभु तुमि तम भंजनहार। नमो नमो प्रभु वाक्यमनाथित, नमो नमो प्रभु वाक्यमनाथित, मन वचनैकाधार, प्रभु मन वचनैकाधार। ज्योतिर ज्योति उजल हृदय कंदर, ज्योतिर ज्योति उजल हृदय कंदर, तुमि तम भंजनहार, प्रभु तुमि तम भंजनहार। लंग रंग भंग बाजे अंग छंग मृदंग, लंग रंग भंग बाजे अंग छंग मृदंग। गायছে छंद भक्त वृंद आरती तोमार, गायছে छंद भक्त वृंद आरती तोमार। शिव शिव आरती तोमार, आरती तोमार, शिव शिव आरती तोमार। खंडन भाव बंधन जग बंधन बंदे तोमार। जय श्री गुरु महाराज जी की जय। ओम ह्रीं ऋतं त्वमचलो गुणजेत गुणेभ्यः नाक्तं दिवं सकरुणं तव पादपद्मं मोहं कषं बहुकृतं न भजे यतोऽहं तस्मात् त्वमेव शरणं मम दीन बन्धो। भक्तिर्भगश्च भजनं भवभेदकारी गच्छन्तलं सुविपुलं गमनाय तत्त्वं वक्त्रोद्धृतोऽपि हृदये न मे भाति किञ्चित् तस्मात् त्वमेव शरणं मम दीन बन्धो। तेजस्तरन्ति तरसां त्वयि तृप्त तृष्णां रागे कृते ऋतपथे त्वयि राम कृष्णे मर्त्यामृतं तव पदं मरणोर्मि नाशं तस्मात् त्वमेव शरणं मम दीन बन्धो। कृत्यं करोति कलुषं कुहकान्तकारीं श्रान्तं शिवं सुविमलं तव नाम नाथ। यस्मादहं तु अशरणो जगदेक गम्य तस्मात् त्वमेव शरणं मम दीन बन्धो। ॐ स्थापकाय च धर्मस्य सर्वधर्म स्वरूपिणे अवतार वरिष्ठाय रामकृष्णाय ते नमः। ॐ नमो श्री भगवते रामकृष्णाय नमो नमः। ॐ नमो श्री भगवते रामकृष्णाय नमो नमः। ॐ नमो श्री भले शिवे सर्वार्थ साधिके शरण्ये त्र्यंबके गौरी नारायणी नमोस्तुते। सृष्टि स्थिति विनाशानां शक्स्तुते शरणागतो दीनतो परित्राण परायणे सर्वशारति हरे देवी नारायणी नमोस्तुते। जय 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 महामाई की जय। जय भगवान श्री रामकृष्ण देव की जय। जय स्वामी जी महाराज जी की जय।
Hello, check. Namaste Yatirajaya Vivekananda Sure Sachet Sukhaswarupaya Swamine Tapaharine. So we were discussing this lecture of Vivekananda on God in everything. And last time we had concluded this paragraph where he basically says that what existed was the Lord himself. And he is in this final statement, which is quite emphatic and dramatic, is in the sin and in the sinner, in life and in death. And goes on to say, a tremendous assertion indeed, yet that is the theme which the Vedanta wants to demonstrate, to teach and to preach. This is just the opening theme. This is where we had concluded last time, and he is going to go on elaborating on how such a worldview, based on a certain fundamental aspect of our psyche, allows us to overcome our usual existential difficulties. Crucially here are two things in the previous paragraph, which I'll draw your attention to again. In the sin and in the sinner, 1. 2, in life and in death. The first assertion, in the sin and in the sinner, this is emphatic. And what he wants to emphasize here, that in both good and bad, we are to cultivate this attitude of seeing reality itself. This quest for a supreme reality, which the more devotionally inclined call God, see in the good and the bad the same thing, which means that these various ethical concerns that we have in our day-to-day life, a differentiation between good and bad, leading to various kinds of judgments. What this says is that in the final count, it is not as significant as we make it out to be. And inside and within these ethical polarities, it is the same reality itself. So both in what we call good and evil, it's, from a devotional point of view, the Lord himself. From the more analytical point of view, it is consciousness itself. It is the reality itself. So, at a certain fairly foundational level, these ethical concerns that we have in our day-to-day lives, in our society, this is a human construct in terms of a society. It's an external. It is much more superficial than the fundamental aspect of existence itself, which is what is often referred to as reality with the capital R, consciousness with the capital C, or God by the devotees. This fundamental reality, which we are seeking, beyond existence, beyond these polarities of even existence and non-existence, form the foundation of our notions of good and evil. It's not the other way around. This particular fact is being stressed here. So, not getting stuck at the level of ethical concerns, but trying to seek its foundation. And this seeking is not outside, but it is within our psyche. Why do we regard something as good and something as bad? And at a certain level, we find that the reasons are something that are just conventional, conventions that we have adopted for a smooth running of society. Not something more fundamental than that. And once we start seeking its foundations within our own psyche, we come across this reality which is deeper than these ethical concerns, than these ethical realities. That's the point of this first statement. The second is even more fundamental. It says that in life and in death, usually, something we have drawn, we have talked about here many times, that the one thing that any living being wants to avoid is its own destruction, also called death. And so we are almost hardwired. This is a fact, actually. It's a fact of biological evolution that one does not consider one's own death, one's own demise, one's own destruction. Because if that were the case, then our day-to-day activity would start losing motivation. We've said this thing from the Mahabharata earlier. One of the answers of Yudhishthira to one of the Yaksha Prashnas. The Yaksha asks him, what is the most strange thing in the world? And Yudhishthira replies, Ahanyahani bhutani gacchanti yamamandiram sheshasthiramicchanti kimascharya atahparam. What is stranger than this, than the fact that every day people or beings, living beings, are dying all around us. Yet, faced with this final irony of existence, we each think that we are going to live forever. And it describes this as the strangest fact of existence itself, of this temporal existence itself. But then, sometimes the shock comes when a loved one passes away, and we ask, is that the end? Is there no more? And this question comes up again and again. And people find various different ways of answering this question, yet no satisfactory answer obtains. It's the fundamental question that is asked in the Kathopanishad also. Some say that after dying a person is no more. Some say that he is. What is the truth? And the answer there is not given in terms of a narrative, in terms of a story, in terms of a doctrine, either in terms of lokas here and there, or birth or this cycle of birth and death. None of that is given as a definitive answer, because these are narratives, these are belief systems which differ from one society to another. The answer that is given is essentially asking Nachiketa to consider what is it in him that dies. Essentially, the answer that is given, therefore, is a self-enquiry. And what is this notion of death? This fundamental question is asked. And then one realizes that every moment of our existence, something comes into being, something goes away. As I am talking to you, some words have come into being. As soon as the words have been uttered, they have passed away. Behind that, there are thoughts that have come into being, existed for a few moments, then passed away. Do we lament the death of that thought? Do we celebrate the beginning of one of those thoughts? No, we take that for granted, which means that so long as there is this notion of activity, more fundamentally, so long as we think of time as a reality, Something is going to arise, something is going to exist for some time, something is going to pass away. Our temporal existence, literally temporal existence, existence within the framework of time, is intrinsically bound with this notion of birth and death. So long as we recognize our existence as temporal, there is no way to avoid death, just as there is no way to avoid birth. Hence, to see this this particular statement here, he is in life and in death. What one is asking for is a reality or the foundation within the deepest aspects of our psyche on which life and death as realities are superimposed. And if you want to generalize that, it means basically all our temporal existence, all our existence within the framework of time. In other words, time itself. This subjective notion of the passage of time, so long as we think we are bound by it, we are bound by life and death. And if we are seeking that reality which is the foundation of life and death, that reality for which our temporal existence is a superimposition, it means willy-nilly we are seeking a reality that is not caught within the framework of time. In other words, we are seeking timelessness. And it's not an experience that is very esoteric. In our day-to-day existence itself, we find very rarely, not very often, this particular aspect of reality. Suppose somebody is reading something with great absorption, great concentration, devotion, and hours pass away without the individual noting the passage of time. Somebody is looking with rapt wonder at a sunset. The beauty of it enthralls, and the mind has become still, absorbed in that beauty. And time passes, what we regard as objective time passes, without the individual being aware of it. These are various phenomena that all of us are familiar with. They are rare, they're not very frequently occurring, but we are all familiar with this, and somehow or the other they are very treasured aspects of our life experience. In another way, it's also part of our daily cycle. Daily cycle between waking, dream, and deep sleep. In the state of deep sleep, the notion of time has vanished. And we wake up and say, oh, I slept for so long, slept very soundly. I had no idea about what was going on. Sukhamaham aswapsam nakinchit avedisham. I did not know anything. So this experience of timelessness is not something that is esoteric. It's not something that is mystical. It is part and parcel of our right as human beings. It's just what this passage is encouraging us to do is to turn our attention to this particular aspect of our existence and focus on it, so that when we are saying that we are seeking to see God in everything, or consciousness in everything, or that reality in and through all our phenomenal existence, we have a starting point. We have a starting point from which we can try to probe deeper and deeper and get it to reveal to ourselves its intrinsic nature. And the intrinsic nature of this experience is no different from our own intrinsic nature, is what we are being prodded to do, basically encouraged to find out for ourselves. Having mentioned these points, Vivekananda tells us in the next paragraph, what are the benefits of this kind of a worldview? He says, thus we avoid the dangers of life and its evils. Do not desire anything. What makes us miserable? The cause of all miseries from which we suffer is desire. You desire something, and the desire is not fulfilled. The result is distress. If there is no desire, there is no suffering. Here, this particular analysis, this identification of the root cause of all human problems, existential problems, and tracing it to desire, is something that reminds us a lot of this Buddha's analysis, that sarvam dukkham. So, dukkha is not sorrow really. Dukkha means basically a certain dissatisfaction. I mean, if you ask any of us here, are you miserable? You'll say, no, we are reasonably okay, we are quite happy. But then are you completely satisfied? Then we say, no, there are various sources of dissatisfaction in our life. They might be small, they might be big, but that is there. And so dukkha literally means dis for dukh and satisfaction for kha. And the source of that, what is the source of this dukkha? That is traced to tanha there, Trishna. In Pali it's called tanha. It's basically what Vivekananda translates here as desire. That means there is something, there is this want, there is this sense of inadequacy which we want to fill by trying to get things from outside. Without bothering, and here really is the nub of the issue, we do this, we feel that if we added such and such things to ourselves, we would feel satisfied. But we forget to analyze, suppose I did get this one extra thing that we are wanting. Suppose I feel, okay, fine, after this I'll go and have a glass of tea. It's a trivial thing, small little thing that we want. And then for the time being, it is going to quench my thirst, desire for tea, let's say. Do we bother to ask ourselves, okay, fine, this is going to satisfy, but does it really satisfy this long-term source of dissatisfaction that is there within me, within most of us? And that analysis is necessary to come to the conclusion that none of these things from outside that we wish to add to ourselves solves our problems in the long run. Because what we have not attempted to excavate and expose thoroughly is the source of this dissatisfaction in ourselves. It's as if there's a disease, we treat the symptoms. Something gives a rash, and then we apply an ointment, the rash disappears. The source disappears. Again, after a few days, the rash appears again. And again, and again. And this cycle keeps going on, keeps repeating itself without asking. And then sometimes, if we are sensible in our day-to-day world, we usually go and meet a specialist, a doctor, who looks at it, makes some tests, and finds out what really is there in our system that is giving rise to this rash again and again. Unfortunately, in this inner enquiry, that treatment that analysis has to be done by ourselves. People from outside can help us by giving us various things, but really, one's own subjective experience is one's own subjective experience, and it is there that the malaise has to be identified, its root found out, and the medication given, the solution provided. Which means, here nobody else can help us. Each one must address the problem for himself or herself. However, the way it's worded, the source is desire, so give it up, is again liable to misinterpretation. So Vivekananda goes on here and he says, but here too, there is the danger of my being misunderstood. So it is necessary to explain what I mean by giving up desire and becoming free from all misery. It does not mean, and this is what he's going to emphasize, it does not mean a motion towards unconsciousness, towards jadatva. It means a motion towards the other extreme of existence. So he says, the walls have no desire and they never suffer. True, but they never evolve. This chair has no desires. It never suffers. But it is always a chair. There is a glory in happiness. There is a glory in suffering. Here he says, start with our existence in terms of these emotional polarities, happiness and sorrow. The aim here is to go to its foundation subjectively, not to kill these faculties, but to deepen them, make them more alive, make them more real. That's what he is going towards. If I may dare to say so, there is a utility in evil too. Again, referring back to these ethical polarities, there is glory in good and there is glory in evil, because our quest is not to be stuck at these ethical polarities, but to go to the foundation of all of these things. The great lesson in misery, we all know. There are hundreds of things we have done in our lives which we wish we had never done, but which at the same time have been great teachers. As for me, I am glad I have done something good and many things bad. Glad I have done something right and glad I have committed many errors, because every one of them has been a great lesson. I, as I am now, am the resultant of all I have done, all I have thought. Every action and thought have had their effect, and these effects are the sum total of my progress. Here, a pragmatic view is being encouraged. We learn through our mistakes. We do something, and then in hindsight, we realize, what we did at that point of time is not conducive to long-term joy or satisfaction. Gives us an opportunity to correct ourselves. So long as what? One precondition is anything that is being done is done with awareness, mindfulness, consciousness. Practice of the presence of God, if you like. But this full awareness directed at every moment of our existence helps us record that something that is being done now could be improved by me in the future, which means one has an experience, learns from it, proceeds. In a different place, Vivekananda says there's no point in sitting down in the sackcloth and ashes and keeping on crying, I am a sinner, I am a sinner. It's of no use. No use for this lamentation. But if there is something that we did which we feel that we could be improved, learn from it and move on. Charaiveti, as they say. Which means chara eva iti. Move on. It's the same thing in an epistemological sense which comes up in this poem by Shankaracharya. Atakim, what next? Yeah? There the quest is for deeper and deeper knowledge. Here, with various experiences, learn and again extract from that experience deeper knowledge, move on. Which means what has been done, somewhere good, somewhere not so good, somewhere right, somewhere wrong, doesn't matter. It's best not to get stuck in any of these polarities, but learn from it and move on. Again, the emphasis then is not to kill these faculties, but to deepen them, which means to get at the foundations of the faculties that make us feel joyful and faculties that make us feel pained or sorrowful. Just a focus on various things which give us joy would only be half a life led. It does not mean that as people progress, say for example, all these great saints that we hear about, it does not mean that they do not feel sorrow. It does not mean that they are always recording happiness as a part of their mental condition. It means that they have gotten to something which is more foundational, of which both joy and sorrow are aspects. And hence, in an experience of joy, they are not overthrown from their balance. In an experience of sorrow, they are also not overthrown, not thrown out of their balance. So they retain a stance which is more foundational, deeper than joy and sorrow, which are more of its superficial aspects. But then what does really giving up desires mean? If it does not mean blunting these faculties, what does it really mean? That comes in this next paragraph. We all understand that desires are wrong, but what is meant by giving up desires? How could life go on? It would be the same suicidal advice, killing the desire and the man too. And then he comes to the clarity here. The solution is this. Not that you should not have property. Not that you should not have things which are necessary and things which are even luxuries. Have all that you want and more. Only know the truth and realize it. Above everything else, the truth of our existence is being emphasized. Kasya chidvanam, here he translates it. Wealth does not belong to anybody. Have no idea of proprietorship, possessorship. You are nobody, nor am I, nor anyone else. All belongs to the Lord, because the opening verse told us to put the Lord in everything. God is in the wealth that you enjoy. He is in the desire that rises in your mind, which means it's not killing of desire, but looking at it with a penetrative insight. Within that desire, it is He Himself, the Lord Himself. He is in the things you buy to satisfy your desire. He is in your beautiful attire, in your beautiful ornaments. This is the line of thought, which means not stopping it, not making it dull, but seeking within these thoughts that come up that self-same reality. In the object of our thoughts, in the object of our desires, that self-same reality. In the subject, the reality, in the object, the reality, in the relationship between them, that reality. That's the aim and end of all this. Usually, if you generalize all this experience, there's a subject, there's an object, and there's a relationship between them. There's a desire, there's an object of desire, and a connection between them. In all these three aspects, the subject, the object, and the relationship between them, seek the same reality. That's the encouragement that is there. And what is it in terms of practice? As we have said this repeatedly, the conscious cultivation of mindfulness, being aware of the present moment. That's all that we really have. Whatever we are doing, do with full attention, with great respect for the action that we are doing. Not that just ringing some bells is worship, but that worshipful attitude or that seriousness to be brought to every moment of our existence. All will be metamorphosed, changed, transformed as soon as this way of thinking starts dawning, as soon as you begin to see things in that light. If you put God in your every movement, in your conversation, in your form, in everything, the whole scene changes, and the world, instead of appearing as one of woe and misery, will become a heaven. The change is not wrought outside, but in our hearts, in our subjective worldview. How? By looking at our perspective more deeply. The practice, as we have said, is just holding on to the present moment with full attention. We'll return to this next week. Om Shanti 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 Harihi Om Tat Sat Shri Ramakrishna Arpanamastu.